We are here on the week of the gameplay reveal. We're just a few days away. I know you're excited. I'm excited. I am super pumped to find out what this game plays like, what it looks like, to see some arenas, the characters. There's so much that we're going to learn, I feel like, this week. And I feel like that ball really starts to roll with this week. So I'm so excited for that. I know we're all pumped. For this video specifically, though, we are going to be following up on the poll that you all filled out. We got over 800 responses, and this is in regards to the characters that you most want to see in Mortal Kombat 1. Excluded from the poll, if you are not familiar, were all the characters that were already officially announced. I think there was 9 of them. Here's Kitana, Melina, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Raiden, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, of course. They're all excluded from the poll in Shang Tsung. But yeah, any other character in Mortal Kombat history that's ever been playable, they were all included. So I think there was like 70 options. And you voted on them, and now we're going to be breaking down the top 20 most desired characters as voted on by you, as well as the bottom 10, the characters that received the least amount of votes, the least amount of support. Because in this poll, people could choose up to 20 characters. Well, some characters didn't get picked as much as some of the others, and I will give you the numbers here in just a moment. Now, before we get to that list, I would greatly appreciate it if you would like this video, as well as subscribe. Liking the video just means other people get to see it. It's not a vanity thing. It doesn't make me feel any better about it. Honestly, I don't even track them a lot of times, but what it does do is it allows other people to see. That's how YouTube works. The more likes a video gets, the more it's going to shove that video into other people's faces to hopefully gain some traction and get more people to look at the content on our channel. So if you like what we're doing here, please like the video as well as subscribe, because if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you're not going to want to miss any of the content that we put out. We've been going for over 8 years doing weekly Mortal Kombat podcasts, deep dives, as well as live streams where we play all the old Mortal Kombat games and interact with all of you, as well as videos just like this. We do it all here, and we're going to continue doing it leading into Mortal Kombat 1 and beyond. So I appreciate it. Now let's get to the list, not to waste any more time. So let's get the bottom 10 out of the way first, just to kind of get the negative out of the way. The people are the characters that people voted on the least. So starting with the person that got 36 votes, so number 10 on this countdown to number 1 of who was the least voted on character. Number 10 of this was Jackie Briggs. She only received 36 votes. Like I said, we had over 800 responses to this poll. Only 36 people wanted to see Jackie Briggs, or at least include her in the top 20, of the ones that they wanted most. So I'm not going to continue to dunk on this character. Obviously, if you've listened to our podcast and whatnot, we've explained in the character rankings, the tier rankings. Check that out. That was a great series. Over 12 hours we spent ranking all the characters in Mortal Kombat. Over 12 hours. What other channel does that? It's crazy. We go in depth here. We leave no stone unturned. But yes, for Jackie, only 36 votes. It's sad. I still think there's potential for that character, but yeah, I think she could sit out a game or two. I think we can. I think that's perfectly fine, especially with the reset and all that. The Combat Kids honestly shouldn't even be involved for a bit, at least a couple games. Anyways, 36. For Jackie Briggs. Now, number 9, who only received 35 votes, so just one fewer than Jackie, is Su Hao. That's kind of self-explanatory. A lot of people do not like this character. He was one of the weaker ones of the 3D era, but I still think there's some potential there, and I think there were some cool design elements that obviously they thought were pretty cool too, because, excuse me, they gave a lot of those design elements eventually to Kano, so obviously, it was worth something. Plus, I loved his fatality, was great in Deadly Alliance. But yeah, Deadly Alliance in general, people didn't have much, special-wise. He only has, 2 specials. So I feel like there's a lot more you could do with this character if you gave him another chance. So who knows, maybe we'll see him as a cameo or something. Now, number 8 on the bottom 10, with 34 votes, so 1 fewer from Su Hao, 2 fewer from Jackie, so on and so forth, was Triborg. Yeah. Triborg, and that's okay. I'm actually good with this because obviously a big Cyrax, Sector, Smoke fan myself. I really want to see the cyborgs themselves be represented on the select screen, be individual characters and in the story, and have all those great fleshing out elements and all the love of a normal character. They're not less than. So yeah, it's not that I dislike Triborg as a concept as much as I didn't love the fact that it felt like he was there to represent all of them in X. So yeah, Triborg, number 8 on the bottom 10 here. So obviously a lot of you felt the same in terms of not wanting to see him, fill up one of those spots this time around. Number 7, 33 votes. So once again, just one fewer from the one behind him, is Meat. Meat. The joke character, the silly character Meat, who uses cleavers because it's meat cleavers. And yeah, British, funny, silly Meat would be great. Yeah, he's just a joke. I don't think he would ever take a character slot by any means outside of Armageddon, which everyone was there. But yeah, Meat. What else do you say? It's Meat. And then number 6 is Darius with 28 of the votes. So now we're jumping a little bit. But yeah, Darius and Dairu, I feel like were not very popular. I sure as heck didn't love either of them. I thought they were one of the weaker ones of that entire era. So this just kind of reaffirms that. Darius at number 6 with only 28 votes. And then number 5, 27 votes, so one fewer than Darius, is Jarek, who is just a Kano clone. Did everything that Kano could do basically in Mortal Kombat 4 and was there to fill that spot for some reason, and they haven't really done anything interesting with him since. He showed up in Snowblind just to die real quickly, which was hilarious. But yes, Jarek, outside of giving you a laugh because of his ending in Mortal Kombat 4, which is still quotable to this day, has amounted to nothing more. So no surprise that he'd make the bottom 10 here. And then number 4, number 3, we have a tie between two characters with only 20 votes. 20 votes out of over 800 responses. I'm surprised there was 20 people that put these characters on there. Well, specifically one of them, but the tie is between Dairu and Cetrion. Can you believe that? Cetrion is tied with Dairu. How crazy is that? What world do we live in? Cetrion, that poor character. But yes, Dairu, no surprise that he would be essentially tied for bottom 3 of the entire franchise. That character was just so bland of a character. But yes, so tied with 20 votes with Cetrion is Dairu. And then on the Cetrion side of things, this character had a lot of problems, and Mommy's girl and the Titan stuff baggage with Kronika and all that, and plus she played like Injustice. It was, I don't want to say that she should never be brought back again. I think you could still maybe salvage that character, but yeah, no surprise that she is coming in at only that she got one of the least amount of votes. And then number 2, with only 11 votes, was Kronika herself. A lot of people just did not love this character. As much as I liked her going into the game with the trailers, I love the voice, Jennifer Hale. I don't even mind the design. The design was kind of cool. Bald space baby, as Django would say. I still liked her, but yeah, I don't like what she represents. I don't like the time travel stuff. I don't like the, constantly resetting time and all the retcons that came with it for each game, and using that essentially as a crutch excuse for why things weren't consistent at all between MK9, MKX, MK11, etc. We need to get away from time travel completely, abandon that, and then we need to get the heck out of there. Because when you introduce time travel elements like that and make that such a key design factor, then nothing sticks, nothing matters, nothing truly matters in it, and that we need to get the heck away from. So I would be fine if we never saw Kronika again. And then number 1, so the least amount of votes, just by a couple, is Mocap. That's not really surprising. This character, another joke character, but there's even less to love, I feel like, for Mocap than there is Meat, apparently.
Oh, my balls!
And that does it for the bottom 10. Let's move on to the top 20, the characters that you most want to see in Mortal Kombat 1. So let's see who you voted for. Number 20, with 307 of those votes, was Tremor, a character that wasn't fully realized as a true real character and playable in Mortal Kombat until Mortal Kombat X. He came as DLC a lot. Well, I shouldn't even say a lot. He had a great amount of votes. Like, people were starting petition. People really wanted to see Tremor. But then there was also people that were tired of hearing about him because he was just one of those kind of like silly characters from Mortal Kombat's past, you know, from Special Forces and whatnot, that wasn't truly realized. So some people just thought he would be a gimmick or he wasn't really going to turn out well. And a lot of those people, I feel like they had their mind changed because this character was executed extremely well in Mortal Kombat X, in my opinion, and was pretty cool. Plus, he's a ninja, so, you know, those always going to get a good amount of votes just because of the cool factor. So at number 20, we have Tremor. I would be surprised if we don't see him again. Ed Boon even hinted on Twitter that it seemed very likely that he would show up again, that we haven't seen the last of him. Now, whether that's going to be playable or a cameo, we don't know yet. But yeah, Tremor. I think that's a great pick for number 20. Now, number 19 got a couple more votes than Tremor, and that is Noob Saibot, a character that's been a part of this franchise since the beginning, essentially. If you count Bihan in Mortal Kombat 1 as Sub-Zero, and then, of course, we see Noob Saibot introduced in Mortal Kombat 2 as a secret character that you can fight, and he made several other games, and this character is just such a fascinating character with his history and the gameplay. He's always exciting to see the trailer. That Mortal Kombat 9 reveal trailer is still one of the most hyped trailers they've ever done. And then in Mortal Kombat 11, a lot of people still like the way he was executed. And yeah, to see him like going into Mortal Kombat 11, though, I felt like he was one of the most requested characters. If you go back and watch my top 30 characters, I think I did a poll similar to this for Mortal Kombat 11 all those years ago. And I'm pretty sure Noob Saibot was one of the most requested characters on that poll. So to see him drop to number 19 says that either people got their fill of Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat 11 and now it's other characters' turn, which I would assume is a big factor here, but also maybe just they didn't love the execution with him in Mortal Kombat 11 as much. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, number 19 still isn't bad. He still beat out many characters. I think, you know, around 70, if not exactly 70, that were available in this poll, you know, excluding the ones that have already been announced. And moving on to number 18 at 320 votes. It's actually tied with 17 as well. We had two characters with 320 votes, taking up the 18 and 17 spots. And that is Takeda and Li Mei. On the Takeda front, this is a combat kid that we actually didn't see return for Mortal Kombat 11, which is surprising because I thought he was pretty popular as well. Him being in there with Cassie, and then Jackie, of course, came back. It's kind of crazy that he didn't come back. So yeah, I would be surprised if we don't see Takeda again at some point, and you know, as DLC or something, because I don't think main game doesn't make any sense for the combat kids. It's a complete restart of the time, you know, of we're going to be learning characters' origin stories. It's not time to jump into the future and introduce the kids all over again. So hopefully that doesn't happen for at least a couple games. But as far as like non-canon DLC, I think that fits perfectly. So why not? Sure, whatever. You know, he's got his fans clearly, and the fact that he made it on tied for 18 and 17, beating out a lot of classic Mortal Kombat characters, says something about this character. So yeah, I would be surprised if we don't see him again. As for Li Mei, I think there's so much potential left on this character. I know a lot of people found her kind of boring or uninteresting. Her gameplay was, you know, blah, or her story or design just weren't fascinating to a lot of people. But she was one of the only characters in the 3D era that managed to return for an additional game. You know, going from Deadly Alliance to Deception, it was only her and Bo Raicho that did that. Whereas a lot of characters introduced in Mortal Kombat 4, Deadly Alliance, or Deception, or Armageddon just did not return. So that's kind of crazy to me that she was one of the few. And she really does have a lot of potential. From a story perspective, a villager that trains extremely hard to become this kung fu master. You know, she's trained by Shijinko and Bo, and then she becomes a fighter for her village, and she has this tragic backstory. I think there's a lot there you could still do, as well as in terms of gameplay. Look, a lot of the people in the 3D era got a bad... That was not the time to be introduced to the franchise. From a story perspective, sure, there was a lot of... Story-wise, it was great. It was a great time for a lot of these characters, but from a design of like their outfits their model, which were all janky back then and blocky and blah. And then the gameplay was just so limited in the 3D environment, and a lot of people only had like 1 or 2 specials during that game. They didn't have the oozing with personality normals or combo strings or anything like that. They didn't have nearly the opportunities, the intros, the outros, the story modes with the actual cutscenes and all that. You just didn't have it. So I feel like bring her back, have her be like the Kill Bill, Beatrix, trained by Pai Mei type of character, the Kung Fu Master, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Michelle Yeoh. Like, yeah, there's so much you could still do with this character. So I think she gets kind of, she's a bit underrated. But the fact that she tied for 17 and 18 on this list shows that she does have some love out there. So that's really nice to see. Now, number 16, with 361 votes, so a bit of a jump there, is Onaga. Now, this character, I don't think he needs to be playable. You all voted for him, but I think that's more of just wanting to see him in the game. I don't necessarily think he needs to be playable. I think he just needs to come back as a major boss, so if we get that in Mortal Kombat 1, I think that would make a lot of people happy, and I think ultimately that's what we're all looking for from this character. He can be an unplayable boss, because if you're going to have him be a big bad, like a classic Mortal Kombat boss, then you don't need him playable. But the fact that he's number 16 on this list is great. We've had our Shao Kahns, we've had Shao Kahn so many times over. To see Onaga, finally on this list as so high up is great. So yeah, I definitely want to see him. Now, number 15 at 365 votes, so just a few more, is Tanya, and she's a great candidate to come back in Mortal Kombat 1. She is one of the more beloved characters by NRS and by the fans of that Mortal Kombat 4 Deadly Alliance Deception Armageddon time frame. 3D era, whatever you want to call it. I know some people don't consider Mortal Kombat 4, but yeah, she's one of the favorites because she got brought back in Deception. She got brought back in Mortal Kombat X. She's been around, in story from time to time, and she's got a pretty good fan base, behind her. So yeah, I would say Tanya makes a great fit, especially if Edenia is going to get more representation and more of a role in story mode if it hasn't been conquered, at this point in time in this universe, this timeline, whatever. Let's see Tanya. And yeah, I think that's a great pick. Now, number 14 with 368 votes is Reiko. And honestly, I should say I am surprised that he didn't make it a little bit higher up on the list, or lower, however you want to look at it, closer to number 1. Not that I would expect him to be number 1, but even like top 10, I would have figured for Reiko. But he's missed it. He's number 14, but it's still a good spot for him. And this is another character that it's just crazy that he's never been brought back. He was cool in the comics. I like the idea of this War Master, this mastermind, strategist on the battlefield. I think there's a lot of potential with this character. And even in Mortal Kombat 4, I thought he was pretty cool. He was one of my favorites of the Mortal Kombat 4 era. But yeah, we just haven't seen him come back outside of Armageddon. But like, whatever, everybody was there in Armageddon. But the fact that he hasn't been brought back in like an NRS game is crazy to me. There's so much potential with this character. So cool to see him there. Now, number 13, fittingly enough, as the number 13, is Serena. And she received 384 votes. This character, man, she's got to be in Mortal Kombat 1. Up there with just so many characters that just never got their true opportunity to shine. Serena is like chief among them. She was obviously she was in Mythologies, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, but as a playable character, she was only in the handheld tournament edition. So the Deadly Alliance handheld version, which removed Sub-Zero, oddly enough, and didn't have the entire roster. It had Serena added on, and yeah, that was her first real playable appearance for the franchise, which is crazy to me. And then she was in Armageddon, but she's never been in like a mainline title that wasn't an all-in game. Like, we're talking Mortal Kombat 1 through 11, not like any of the side handheld stuff, but then also not counting Armageddon because everybody was there. Like, she's not been in like just a standard roster. She wasn't in Deadly Alliance, even though I think they wanted her to be, I feel like she's missed that boat so many times. I've often referred to her over the years as always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It's crazy this character has just not truly gotten her opportunity. She has a great story. She has a pretty cool design. You could do a lot with it, that's for sure. She has a good fan base. She has a cool look. The gameplay could be fun if you play up the kind of like the demon elements, but just like, it's just, yeah. And then her relationship with Kuai Liang, Sub-Zero, there's so much you could do there. So much potential left on the table. So she really needs to be in this game. Either base roster, DLC. I don't think a cameo is enough for this character. Give her a spot as playable. She really needs it, and the story love. So yeah, I'm really hoping she makes it in there. It's a great pick. And then moving on to number 12 is at 389 votes, we have Jade. That's a good pick. You know, I kind of put her in the Noob Saibot, maybe a little less baggage, of course, but like Jade was great in Mortal Kombat 11. She was one of the most requested going into that game, if I recall. She was right up there with Noob in terms of characters that we missed in X that we wanted to see in 11. And gameplay-wise, she's always pretty solid. And I mean, she's right up there with like Katana and Melina. Maybe not quite as popular, but she's not too far behind. So Jade makes a lot of sense. And if we're gonna have more Edenia, like I said with Tanya, if we're gonna have more Edenia representation in story mode and have it play a bigger role, Jade makes sense. So if not base roster, DLC makes a lot of sense for this character. Speaking of Edenia, let's move on to number 11 at 404 votes. So we've cracked the 400 now. We have Rain. And this character has never made like a base roster of, you know, a standard Mortal Kombat title, you know. Like I said, not counting Armageddon or Trilogy or anything like that. He's always felt like the DLC character for a lot of us, you know, with even Mortal Kombat 9, which was supposed to be the Trilogy game, focusing on Trilogy. Quan Chi made the base roster, but Rain was relegated to DLC. Just mind-blowing. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, he just kind of gets the short end of the stick. But then over the years, I feel like he's gotten more than a lot of other characters. So I don't think Rain fans can necessarily play that card anymore that, hey, this character has been underrepresented or hasn't gotten his real chance yet. Like, it may not have been as ideal as people would have liked, but with him being DLC in Mortal Kombat 9, playing a pretty big story role in Mortal Kombat X, way more than a lot of characters that were playable in that game, which is crazy. He should have been base roster for Mortal Kombat X off of that logic alone, just how much of a role he played in story. He did more than most of the Revenants in that game, you know? It's crazy to me that he wasn't playable in the base roster, or at all, actually. And then in Mortal Kombat 11, once again, he was late game DLC, you know, last combat pack. So if he's in this game, he should be in as base roster, and then we can finally get rid of that stigma and just be like, he made the base roster, now he can't have that, you know, that complaint anymore, as fans can't really say he's never made a base roster. Let's give him that with the Edenia representation. Fans have been crazy about him. Let's just give him that chance to shine right out of the gates, and then we'll move on. But yeah, cool character, cool design, and yeah, fun gameplay. So makes sense. Number 11. Okay, moving on to number 10 at 422 votes. We have, so we're cracking the top 10 here for everybody. Sector. Sector is number 10, and that is a great pick. We need some cyborgs in there, right? Cyborg. We need some cyborg representation on this roster, be it base roster or starting off as a cameo and then maybe added in later as DLC. I want to see the cyborgs make this game. They have been relegated to just like NPCs for the last few games, or the last couple, I should say. Like, obviously we got them all in Mortal Kombat 9, but then in Mortal Kombat X, they were non-existent. You know, they were like, Sector especially was teed up to be like this. We thought we were gonna get the whole Lin Kuei stuff in Mortal Kombat X, and it just didn't happen. It was you know, off screen. It was in the comics basically, and that's disappointing. He was relegated to just a head on a table. He was Shinnok tier basically, Shinnok status, and that's unfortunate. And then eventually we got Triborg as late game DLC, last combat pack, and I'm sure from their perspective, and by there I mean NRS's, from their side of things, they were doing that to please all Cyborg fans because they couldn't have all of them as DLC. So they just figured, let's smash them all into one character like Chameleon, and that way everybody can play the Cyborg that they want as a variation. But like when you get down to the brass tacks of it, Triborg was not any of those characters. In fact, he should have been Sector because he talks and acts like Sector. So he should have been just Sector. And then you could have had shared variations like Mournful. Not that we love that either. Like Mournful Katana, where you have Jade's moves as the variation. You could have just done Sector as the character, and then you could add a Cyrax variation and a Smoke variation if you really wanted to go that route. But when you call it Triborg, and it's this own character, and then each Cyborg has just one variation that's named after them, but it's actually just Triborg impersonating these characters and using their specials. It's not really, like, I'm not really playing Cyrax. I'm not really playing Smoke, right? It acts like Smoke, but it is not actually those characters. So I didn't get, as a Cyrax fan and a fan of these characters in general, didn't actually get any real story progression for these characters. The ending wasn't about them. The game, like the gameplay, they were just 1/3 of a character basically. They didn't get their own select screen spot. They didn't get their own move sets that spread out across the variations to really flesh this character out. Take Mortal Kombat 11 for example, they wouldn't have gotten their own gear or anything. So yeah, that's where it's like Sector, Cyrax, Smoke, man, they really have been kind of shafted. And then of course in Mortal Kombat 11, Sector and Cyrax played a role in the story, which was awesome. They were great, but then, and they were even fightable, but then they just never became playable, which is strange. You would have figured they would have been DLC, but they just weren't. So yeah, all this to say, Sector, great pick at number 10. And would love to see him in this game. I feel like we are overdue for some Cyborg representation, be it base roster, DLC, whatever. You need to get these characters as playable in this game. I think that's essential. Now number 9 is an amazing pick that I am super stoked about. The fact that you all representing this character and actually including this character in your top 10 with 436 votes, Ashra. I am loving this. Like, if we would have done, well, I can't even say if we would have done this poll 4 years ago, this character would not have cracked the top 10. And not even the top 20. I can guarantee you it because I ran this poll, like I said, heading into Mortal Kombat 11. And I feel like a lot of these 3D era characters over this last couple years have really grown in popularity and really gotten more of a fan demand. I feel like there's been this influx of fans that have either gone back and like studied up on the history of Mortal Kombat, or they've just become more vocal and more excited about these characters now that we got a lot of like the trilogy era out of our system. Like we had a whole, a new trilogy based around those characters essentially, and the Combat Kids and the new NRS characters. But yeah, we got so many trilogy characters in this last 3 games that I feel like we are overdue for those 3D era characters. So to see Ashra at number 9, it makes me extremely happy. She's a top 5 character for me in the franchise, and I really want to see this character come back. She was a lot of fun in Deception. I love the design, the all white with the gold trim. The fact that she's a demon trying to redeem herself by slaying other demons is such a cool story, a character concept. So I love that. The Chris sword, the potential of voodoo, and the light manipulation. She's doing a lot of cool things that other characters aren't doing. And now there's still so much potential with her in terms of what do you do with her gameplay? What do you do with her story? There's so much potential left on the table, like I said, with a lot of those 3D era characters. So I really want to see this character return. Number 9. Awesome. Number 8, 440 votes, so just beating Ashra by a few, is another character that's like right along with her. A lot of people would associate her and Ashra together, and that is Natara. So number 8, Natara with 440 votes. People are excited for Natara. She was in the last the movie that came out in 2021, that thing, as well as she was in one of the animated movies. yeah, this character, once again, just so much design potential left on the table. And I think there's so many cool, fun things you could do. They could actually have her fly around now in a 2D environment and be able to be like the premier flying character in the series would be exciting. And all the vampire elements and design-wise, she just looks so cool. Natara would be great. That's a great pick for number 8. Number 7, we have at 446 votes is Fujin. Fujin, we asked for Fujin for so many years, and they just would not give us Fujin. In Mortal Kombat X, they teased us with him in story mode. He was great. In the comics, he was great. He's always great. Fujin is always great. And then in Mortal Kombat 11, we thought we were going to get him on like base roster, right? And we didn't. But then he came as DLC, and he played a big role in Aftermath, and he was great there. It's exciting. Fujin should absolutely come back. So to have him here at number 7 makes a lot of sense because this character should not just be a one and done. Like, that's what he was in Mortal Kombat 4 when he was first introduced, or in Mythologies, whatever. But as playable in Mortal Kombat 4, you know, he was cool there, but then he just was kept out until Armageddon, where they had to bring him back, and then kept out all the way till Mortal Kombat 11. That's insane how many years went by with no Fujin. So don't do that to us again, please. Bring him back for this game and like have a great follow-up appearance. This character was super awesome in 11 with his gameplay and design. I think bringing him back makes all the sense in the world, and it would be a sour note if he was not included. Number 6, we have at 463 votes, and that is Kenshi, my second favorite character in the franchise. Kenshi, I love his design, I love his gameplay, and he sat out from 11. A lot of people were thinking, oh, this is just the standout of the 3D era along with Quan Chi. Like, Kenshi is the 3D era representative, and that's fine, but that's not something to hold against him either. Like, he was great in Deadly Alliance and Deception, and then to bring him back as DLC in 9, and then he was base roster of X, like, yeah, Kenshi's been fantastic, and he's been pretty consistently great. So I want to see him return. Definitely, he's in my most wanted characters after sitting out completely for 11. So yes, absolutely. Let's bring Kenshi into Mortal Kombat 1. He would fit these aesthetics so well. Like, if the actual design of the game looks anything like the trailer that we got, man, he would look perfect for this game. So give us Kenshi. Now, going from my second favorite character to my first favorite character at number 5 at 483 votes, we have Cyrax. Number 5, top 5, baby. Cyrax. Everything I said about Sector, you can apply it to Cyrax, because this character should not have sat out as playable in 11. He was in the story mode. Man, it would have been great to get him as like DLC or something, but just never happened. And that needs to happen with Mortal Kombat 1. Please do not just relegate these characters just to cameos and to never make them, you know, playable. Ideally, they're on the base roster, but if they don't make the base roster, then they should be DLC and not in a Triborg situation. I want to see these characters realized as playable. It's been too long. Like, okay, if you count Triborg, that's what, 2015? And then if you don't count Triborg, that's 2011? We're in 2023 now, so either way, you're looking at 8 years to 12 years since we've got to play the cyborgs. It's crazy to me. You got to get them. They are a staple of Mortal Kombat. I know some people don't love them still, but they are the quintessential Mortal Kombat 3 characters. They are the most popular of, like... honestly, there's probably only one character that's more popular than them from, like, the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, if we're counting that. We'll get to that next, and that is Ermac at number 4, 557 votes. Now we are breaking the 500s, and that is Ermac, and that is not surprising in the least. This is one of the most popular characters, and one of the characters that people love the most is Ermac. I mean, he sat out of Mortal Kombat 11, and it's kind of like the ninjas have been on a cycle where they rotate certain ones in and out, and Reptile and Ermac were cycled out for Noob and I am blanking. My brain is blanking right now. I don't know. Either way, they were cycled out, and yeah, they need to be cycled back in because Ermac is a great character. He looks awesome. He's got badass gameplay. He's very flashy like Noob Saibot. So let's get him back in there and get him back in the mix. So Ermac, I guess my one hopeful for Ermac is go kind of back to basics with the character. Let's dial back the mummy stuff and get more to the ninja aesthetic, and maybe leave the mummy stuff for like the like alternate attire. Granted, if we're resetting the timeline and we're starting from like day one basically again, I don't think he should be as old and decrepit and, you know, mummified as much. So let's dial that back a bit, as well as let's get back to good Ermac. You know, he's got so many souls within. I shouldn't even say him, right? It's a they character. He's got souls of males, females, King Jared, if that's even going to be a thing anymore, who knows? So they, Ermac, whatever you want to call Ermac. I think, yeah, let's have Ermac be a good character, because Deception Ermac is still the best Ermac. But yeah, Ermac. And then number 3, I was just mentioning him along with Ermac, and that is Reptile. Because Reptile's a Mortal Kombat 1 character, and I think sometimes people forget about that. And he's just such a staple of the series, and Reptile should never sit out more than just like one game. You know, like if he sits out one game, that's weird. To sit out 2 games, that would be insane. So Reptile's gotta be there. And I look forward to like a more classic looking Reptile. Give him all sorts of options. Give him the human skin disguise, or like just have his scales look like human skin, however they want to play it off. And let's get that classic Reptile, the classic ninja Reptile, as one of his outfits at least. But yeah, more, like I've said, I like my Reptile that looks green, just very green, you know, ninja get up. And yeah, I think Reptile is such a classic character, and it's crazy. It would be absolute insanity to not include him again. Anyways, moving on, we are now breaking the 600s. So we've gone from the top 20 started at 307 with Tremor. Now we are up to 608. So we've almost doubled the demand for Tremor. So at number 2 with 608 votes, we have Havoc. Now this character is probably the most demanded 3D era character remaining. And that's not surprising, because Havoc was awesome. That is not a character, it's not like a Su Hao factor where it's like, this character could be more, right? Or even Li Mei, like, this character, there's still potential to be left on the table. Natara, there's still potential to be, like, this is Havoc. He was already super awesome design-wise, as is. Like, you don't really have to change much of this character, and he's already a great character. So from a design perspective and a gameplay perspective, I think you can already do so much with this character. So let's bring him back. At number 2, people obviously really want him in there. For 608 votes out of around 800 or so responses, let's get Havoc in this game. And don't make him DLC. Don't do the Fujin thing where it's like people are so clamoring for this character and demanding for this character, one of the most highly demanded characters, but then just save him as like DLC down the line. That would be a disappointment. He needs to be base roster. He needs to play an actual role. He needs to be a prominent character in the game. Havoc, yeah. And then finally at number 1, 610 votes, so just beating Havoc by 2 votes. It's the only character that's super requested for Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat X, one of the most requested characters in the community that I have not mentioned yet. And that's Smoke. Smoke, of course it's Smoke. People love their ninjas. People like their cyber ninjas as well. Smoke does it all. And he has not, like I said, you have the Triborg factor, but he hardly has played a role. Unlike Cyrax and Sector, he got nothing in Mortal Kombat 11. So we've gotten no Smoke. And people really love this character. He has such an amazing story and a great design and great gameplay. Always delivers when you bring this character around. Some of the most, like the best games in the series have had Smoke on the roster. Think back to UMK3, right? To Deception. A lot of people's favorites. UMK3 and Deception. Mortal Kombat 9. What do they all have in common? Smoke. And call it a coincidence, but yeah, that's crazy. This character should be in the game. I think he's got to be, right? Like, this has to be one of the most for sure's on the roster. You cannot do another game without Smoke. This is the most requested. 610 votes. That's insane. Of just how many, how much of a high percentage that is to include this character. Over 75%, that is. Just looking at it now, over 75% of the people that took the poll included Smoke. You gotta have him, and I think it's time, and I think he will be. But yeah, that's gonna wrap this up. Thanks everybody for tuning in to this long kind of breakdown. This was not really a short video, but hopefully you enjoyed it nonetheless. Of the countdown of the top 20 based on your votes, as well as the bottom 10. And I am curious what you think of these results. Are you surprised? Was there any character not included in the top 20 that you're wondering how could they not have made it? Or anybody in the bottom 10 that you're just shocked by? I would love to know what you're all thinking. Let me know in the comments below. Personally, I think people voted. I love this. I love these results. Top 20 is filled with, I can't really disagree with much of the top 20. Honestly, I don't know that I could really disagree with any of it. These are all great picks, and clearly they've got the support of the community. So being a sample size, speaking for the larger portion of the community, this is a tremendous list. So thank you everybody for filling out the poll. Once again, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments below what you think of these results and anything that you are thinking about in regards to your reaction to these results, as well as stay tuned, because for the gameplay reveal, we're going to be doing a live stream for our own reactions. So we'll be streaming live the gameplay reveal trailer. We'll have plenty of comments then. Plus, later that evening, we are planning on doing a live Netherkast episode. So rather than premiering it on Wednesday nights, there's nothing to talk about ahead of it. So we're going to wait. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing a live Netherkast episode. So make sure to tune in for that and come chill with us on YouTube. So we'll be basically doing 2 live streams on Thursday. We'll do a live stream for our initial reactions. Then we'll cut that short, somewhat short as we can be. And then we will follow it up in a few hours with a live stream where we actually do our Nethercast episode and go deep into our thoughts and opinions once we've kind of sat on it for a few hours to think about what we did and had time to analyze it further of the gameplay reveal. So we have that to look forward to this week. I'm super excited. And apologies for last week not doing the live stream of the combat time. Just needed a week off, basically, for various reasons. If you were part of our Discord, I made an announcement on there, so check that out if you haven't. The Discord, it's in the description. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Netherkast. I would greatly appreciate that as well. But yes, this Thursday, gameplay reveal. Cannot wait. So excited. That being said, without further ado, thanks everybody for tuning in. I will see you very soon when we get some Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay. Looking forward to it. See you all later.